you got to have water. And my understanding is the reservoir was not refilled in time and in a timely manner to keep the hydrants going. So that's a failure, whether on DWP's part or another city agency. But this is basic stuff.
Why isn't there water in the fire hydrants? That doesn't make any sense.
You're right. That's a good question. And I think you should start asking, why don't you call the mayor who's out of the country and ask her?
In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live for Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. My friend Frank is here, quitefrankly.tv for all things Quite Frankly, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Hello, Frank.
Hey, how are you?
You know, right on brand 1 minute before live, but I have few things I want to talk to you about tech-wise. One of the things I accomplished tech-wise over the Christmas break was separating my Zoom audio into a different feed so you can't come in and mess it up like last time. I
know. That's fantastic. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
You see, we're all growing in that respect.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I'm always going to be ready because I'm just rolling out of one show right over here. I'm broadcasting from my home setup tonight because it's so brick. How is it by you? Because you're in Montana, and I have to imagine it's always just like by default worse than where I am in New York.
You talking weather-wise, or what are you talking about?
Weather-wise, yeah. It's so cold.
It's normal winter weather, like 25 degrees and snowy.
Oh, we don't get snow. We just get Antarctic blast wind.
Yeah.
And it's, right now it's about 20 with a wind chill of 5, and I wasn't going to go to the studio tonight. So
head to LA if you need to warm up a little bit. We'll get into that in a minute. Shouldn't be making jokes because it looks horrific.
Yeah.
But later on in the show, I'll talk. I know you got into this on your show too, but I'll be talking Zuckerberg and his reversal on censorship. Very convenient for him. Justin Trudeau is done in Canada. I'll get into that a little bit. And later on in the show, Batman is going to join me to take calls. And we'll do that about an hour from now. If you'd like to call the show, find the Discord link in the description. On the Discord server, there are instructions, and producer Tim will help you out on the server if you need it. Catch up with your super chat as well later on in the show. But Frank, as I mentioned, technology-wise, now there are many things I admire about your show. You're very good at what you do. You've influenced me in many ways.
Wow.
There's one thing I've never asked you about because, well, I don't know. I guess I should have. I just never asked you about it, though. I thought, how does he do that? And over the break, I stumbled upon one of Frank's secrets. I mentioned I got a few equipment upgrades, thanks to people who support the show for making that possible. And I thought, oh my God, that's how Frank does it.
That is how Frank does the monster voice. That's how he does it. I never knew, but here we could go monster to monster, Frank.
How have you done this? How did you figure this out?
Not only the monster voice, but as I'm sure you're aware.
We got the helium voice, right? We could do helium.
We could do. Frank, this is a Wendy's. I'm sorry, Frank, this is a Wendy's. We could talk megaphone voice.
You could also just you could make your show family friendly by telling everybody to go themselves.
Anyway, I never knew how you did that. I'm like, that's how we did it.
I will say this. Did you get a Rodecaster?
Yeah, I did the mixer, the audio processor. I picked up one of those. Yeah.
It's perfect because, before this and 2024 was when I got the Roadcasters here at my home setup and also at the other studio where I got rid of all of the stacked audio technology that I had been carrying around and tinkering with and Frankensteining together since 2006. The old school mixers, the signal amplifiers and all that stuff. But I always had a voice modulator, but it would have to be on its own separate piece of hardware. And it was just so great to see, literally, I mean, maybe 80 pounds or more worth of equipment get shrunk down into this little thing in front of me. I almost felt naked in the room because there was so much less stuff in the room. But voice modulation has always been very close to my heart. I think that it's just so funny.
This is just such a funny voice. You say anything. It's not even paid product placement. It's just a great piece of equipment. That's all.
The reverb is even better once you start getting that echo, just a little hit of reverb.
I made sure you can set it so that you can toggle it on or off.
Or just hold it down if you want the voice.
But I thought I better do the hold down because otherwise I'm going to forget, and I don't monitor my own voice. So I thought I'm going to do the whole show as the monster accidentally, and that's going to be a disaster. So,
well, I'm glad you got growth wherever you can get it. I'm so happy for you, Matt.
Nobody deploys the monster voice like Frank, so I have to. It's the same thing. I got a good soundboard upgrade recently, and it's like restraint is really the hard part. Don't click too many buttons, even though they're all hilarious. So it's fun. Yeah, good things coming for the new year. And now I know. Now I know all of Frank's secrets. I didn't even have to ask. But let's get into what's going on in California, because it is a total disaster. As of this afternoon or a few hours ago, fire toll in the Los Angeles area is 5 dead, more than 1,100 buildings or structures destroyed. The fires are fueled, of course, by winds with gusts topping over 100 miles an hour at times. There are currently many separate fires. Frank, I don't know if you saw, but it looks like within the last hour or so, some fire just broke out right by the Hollywood sign. So we might have the symbolism of the actual sign on fire.
See, this is what I want to understand, and I have to find somebody in, I don't know, who do you go to, a meteorologist or whatever? The conditions where you're talking about 100, it's like hurricane strength gusts of wind. Now, I don't know what feeds this. Is it just that I know this is an arid climate out there in California? I understand that this is always a threat, and when you mismanage the state chronically because of ideological nonsense for so long, it's going to you're going to run the risk of this happening more and more. I just don't understand what comes first. Did the fire come before the blowtorch intensity winds, or did the fire actually help create vortexes of wind?
I know the wind was forecasted. There is a little bit of intel on the cause, which I'll get to momentarily. There's nothing official, but there's a firefighter saying how the main fire, the Palisades fire, started. But just so people understand, there are several fires now. Really, there are kind of three main ones. You got the Palisades fire that is burning. It's over 16,000 acres now in Pacific Palisades and right along the Pacific Coast Highway there toward Malibu. A large area between Santa Monica, Malibu, and Calabasas is under mandatory evacuation order. That's expected to expand. It's some 300,000 people, mandatory evacuation order right now. You got the Eaton fire, which is 10,000 acres in Altadena and Pasadena. And then there's the Hearst fire, 500 acres in Sylmar. And LA fire officials are just saying, we don't have the manpower to fight this. I want to get into the water issue momentarily, but they're saying we have 9,000 firefighters between all the different fire departments across LA County. That's not enough people. We need more to come in. They're putting out the call for anybody who's able to help to come help. But as far as how it started, again, still under investigation. But you've got a firefighter on a local news report who's saying that that largest fire, the Palisades fire, that started in a backyard, he says.
Right now, we've had, this has jumped from a very small fire in the backyard. It ran up a ridge. Once it hit that ridge, we had these erratic winds, and it just had an ember cast that just pushed this throughout all of Palisades.
So is that someone with a fire pit? Is that someone grilling when it's really windy? Is that a cigarette? Something like that?
Damn.
Don't know.
Well, I don't know. But again, this comes back to it. There's so many issues here whenever we talk about this, because it's inevitably going to pop up again, especially on the Pacific side of things. or up north throughout Canada. The Interior Department released in, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago or so. It's when Obama was still around. Because invariably somebody's going to use all of this for their, evidence that, yeah, climate change is really ruining everything and we need help and blah, 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 blah. But over 90%, and this was published by the Interior Department. I guess I think that's where they put the national parks in the interior. But that 90% plus of these fires are caused by man, whether it be arson or negligence or something like that, campfires, whatever the hell it is, outside of natural causes. That is just, these sanitizing brush fires that are caused by lightning strikes and whatever. So it's not surprising to hear that something that happened in the backyard, a cigarette, a camp, whatever, would be at the center of at least one of these. I didn't know that there was 3 concurrent blazes though.
And even there's something 5 or 6 now. Like I said, there's one that just started within the last couple hours that's in the Hollywood Hills there. You can see some footage or an aerial shot from last night. Again, this is 24 hours old now, so the devastation is worse than this. But the image is coming out. This is Pacific Palisades, that Palisades fire. I mean, it's total devastation. It's absolutely just everything is just leveled. And there are a few pieces of insane footage. There's like an infinite montage of insane footage that has come out of this, but there were a couple clips that I pulled that I wanted to highlight. I don't know the exact location of either of these, but in one, it's 2 guys deciding to abandon their house. They just walk out into what looks like an absolute hellscape. And then in the second, you got 2 guys who are in a house with a dog, and everything outside is just a giant flamethrower.
All right, dude. Yeah, let's get out of here. We tried, bro. I'm sorry.
Is that Jeff Tiedrick?
I don't know the reference, actually.
Tried our best. Yeah, and when this tree falls, it's over.
Damn, man.
Sorry, bro. Gotta get out of here. Oh, shit. Holy shit.
I can't believe how calm these guys are looking at this.
I think that's you think of it. Oh man, that's your health. That's everything. Why are you in the house still?
Okay? It's gonna be okay. Hi. You're gonna be okay.
It's not going to be okay.
Oh shit. Yeah, don't worry about that, dude.
Now, supposedly they were trapped or something, but I'm reading, at least according to a guy, some sort of local candidate for LA County Board of Supervisors, he's saying they got out, that they were able to safely evacuate.
I just don't to allow that. It's almost like the people who stand on their front porch and they film the tornado until it's 5 feet away from them. And you're like, what are you doing? Get the hell out.
These guys are practically whistling, watching like Satan's flamethrower aimed at their faces.
That's just insane to be sitting in your kitchen and to look out at your back patio and have that wall of flame there. It's like biblical.
There's all kinds of footage emerging showing the aftermath. Elon Musk shared a clip he says is from a friend in LA. I don't know the exact location of this footage, but again, you can see everything for blocks is just leveled. And as I mentioned, the officials in LA County are saying they just don't have the manpower to fight this. Like, we're doing what we can. We don't have enough firefighters given the scale of these fires. But it's not just the manpower. It is apparently also the water or the lack thereof in the fire hydrants. The fire hydrants apparently ran completely dry in many areas, but particularly in higher elevations. And this is confirmed per the LA Times by the chief executive and chief engineer of the LA Department of Water and Power. She said this morning that demand for water surged to quadruple the norm, which you might expect, and stayed that way for 15 hours. That lowered water pressure. Rick Caruso is a real estate developer, commercial property owner in the area. He's a former commissioner of this Department of Water and Power, the utility there. He was on local news last night just blasting city leadership for the lack of preparedness.
We've had decades to go remove the brush in these hills that spreads so quickly. And the second is, you got to have water. And my understanding is the reservoir was not refilled in time and in a timely manner to keep the hydrants going. So that's a failure, whether on DWP's part or another city agency. But this is basic stuff. It's all about leadership and management that we're seeing a failure of. And all of these residents are paying the ultimate price for that.
Why isn't there water in the fire hydrants? That doesn't make any sense.
You're right. That's a good question. And I think you should start asking, why don't you call the mayor who's out of the country and ask her?
Well, they say she's on her way back, and that would be a great question to ask her tomorrow.
I heard she's in Africa doing something on a
she's back, Frank. Did you see her reemergence?
No.
Okay, I'll get to that in a moment.
What costume was she wearing? Wearing a costume or something like that?
If only it was her physical appearance that was funny. No, it's her response to the emergency, unfortunately.
I was looking at that is a very interesting thing as far as the water inside of these, because I never really think about, is that connected to a reservoir in itself? Yeah. I always thought that this was going to be pumped from some sort of a self-renewing body of water, but the fact that this had to be actually resourced is incredible, because
they have to refill them, and you have the person in charge of this utility saying, well, we have tanks that supply the hydrants and they were all full yesterday, but of course with demand on the scale that it is, they could not refill them at a rate sufficient to satisfy the demand. And I get it. It's about as much demand as you're ever going to have. But given, as you mentioned, the climate of the area, it's a very dry, very fire-prone place. If your system is not prepared to handle that kind of demand spike, you are setting yourself up for a fire disaster in exactly the way that happened.
What's crazy to me is the guy who was calling into that show, what was that, a Fox clip?
A local Fox, yeah.
Him calling in to talk about the brush that has still not been cleared. And here we are on the outside looking in, very much on the outside over, on the other side of the country. So whenever these fires spring up and they make news again, it's just like, it's all we get is reminded of everything we learned the last time it went around. And like I said tonight, many of us learned over the years about the tinderbox conditions that California was put under during radical environmentalist years with people like Jerry Brown. Obviously, it has not changed under Newsom. And I remember covering stories that we would take calls from Californians on my show every time that Jerry Brown would veto a wildfire management bill, because things like controlled burns or clearing brush would disturb the habitat of some local finch, from some sparrow during its mating season or something like that. And I still see it pop up today, where these things are and to hear that again after all these years, like what is the ecological value at keeping dry brush in place in an arid climate that is slowly, because of other environmentally, ideologically insane initiatives, you're being choked off from water and hydration and all that other stuff, because you can't dam here, you can't dam there because there's a tortoise that you don't want to. It's really just crazy.
I guess I'll have to listen, because I'd be extra curious what that environmental damage is that is above and beyond the massive development that already exists in that entire region of the state. So who knows? I'm sure they have their reasons, but I mentioned Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles. You're right. She was out of town. She went to Africa because she's part of a presidential delegation to attend the inauguration of the new Ghanaian. How do you say Ghana? The demonym for Ghana. The president of Ghana.
Ghanaian. I don't know.
John Dramani Mahama. So she was gone. She was out of town. She went on this presidential delegation to go congratulate the new president of Ghana. And she gets back into town today, and she's immediately confronted by a reporter at the airport, and she has absolutely nothing to say to him.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
Now, I thought... Sorry, go ahead.
No, talking about ignoring the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
You can't say gorilla in this context. That's very racist of you.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Anyway.
Well, the white reporter, or at least the guy with the British accent, he was the gorilla in this respect.
Okay.
Just come in.
Thank you for clarifying.
Sorry.
Now, I thought, is she just going home? She's going to refuse to answer questions and just go home. It's not quite that bad, or maybe it's worse. She did do a press conference about 5 p.m. Pacific. It's about when this clip was posted, so a few hours ago. And listen to this press conference. It says, hey, if you need help, go to the URL. Well, what's the URL? Unspecified. I guess you just type help into your web browser and see what happens. Listen to this.
www.help.com.
Yeah.
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this. Through the heroism of our firefighters, the vigilant build.
Maybe she should just stay in Africa. It was probably better the way it was.
What a stupid dude. And then it's just like, did you see what's his name from Chicago? The Chicago mayor. There's another winner for you. My gosh, these are jellyfish. These are jellyfish. These people are just jellyfish. There's no real ability to function. And my, oh my, like, for example, when she was being, that other clip that you were playing of her being confronted with very reasonable questions in the airport or whatever, just the blank shutdown look. I mean, that was half panic and also just some kind of defense mechanism of, I cannot think on my feet. I can just don't say anything until somebody gives you something to say.
Yeah.
That's all it is. These are not autonomous people. So it's one thing to say, well, we have a mayor that we can beat up on, and maybe they deserve to be beat up on because, out of all things she could not have expected, there are other things that she did to leave them in worse off position. Can you tell me a little bit more about what kind of funds were taken away from the
I haven't read a bunch about that, but I've seen people saying that under her leadership, the fire department budget was cut by $17 million or something like that. But that's all I know. Like the headline level, is that her fault? Is that the fault of whatever city council they have in LA? I don't know. I couldn't tell you that. But that's what he's talking about, was a budget cut to the city fire department.
Yeah, it's definitely a team effort out there. And we're talking about many years because, again, I'm not a Californian, but I read the news. And for as long as I have been reading the news in a serious way, all I have been doing is just stacking evidence of people who are running the state out there. And I guess they were taking the Georgia Guidestones very, very seriously about bringing the world back to a state, a natural state, which means let everything live, rot in place. Don't clear it out. Don't touch anything. If you upset the habitat of a hummingbird, you are, it's the worst thing in the world, even if it means that eventually one day, half of Los Angeles is gone. I mean, imagine all the wealth that's being just erased right now here too, because man, the celebrity losses, that's the first thing that comes is really at the forefront at a lot of this. This is a very, very celebrity Hollywood kind of location. Obviously residential. There's a lot of people getting on with their lives, but there's a lot of celebrities losing their shirts, or not their shirts, but at least their homes. It's really nuts.
And then if this one in Hollywood, toward the Hollywood sign there expands, you could have even more of that. Did you see, a lot of people were wondering, there were several clips emerging that looked like there was some kind of rocket fire or some sort of, I don't know, aerial traffic, UFOs, who knows? But here's one example of a clip, and if you see across the lower part of the screen here in a moment, it looks like there's a rocket in the sky or something. Now, what they're saying that is apparently fire traveling down power lines. Now, all sorts of weird stuff can happen in fires. People were wondering, is it like a propane tank? Is it some sort of electrical explosion? Turns out it's pretty close to that. I didn't know fire can travel down power lines in that way, but apparently it can.
I've seen it. My question is, I'm just trying to consider the scale of the video that we're seeing right here. And you're telling me that there is a power line that is traveling above the tree line?
Well, fair point. I assume maybe there are hills back there, or the elevation continues to escalate. I don't know.
Then how big of a fire? Then you think about the depth perception here. Look at this, the wall of smoke, and for this, if we're talking about just a power line, if this thing is traveling along it, then it has to be further up, because it would get lost behind a wall of smoke like that. So it's going to have to be a little bit more prominent. More in the foreground, the wire, I'd have to imagine. And it just the depth perception on all this is screwing me up. I don't know if I believe that is a.
So you're still on team rocket fire. We got rockets flying. Who knows?
It's unidentified aerial phenomenon. No doubt about it.
Well, did you see Joe Biden's response earlier today?
Oh, he's still alive?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For now, the fire hasn't got him, as far as I understand. He is in the area. He was down there already because he was supposed to do some sort of new monument commemoration in the Coachella Valley. That didn't happen. He's hanging out with Governor Gavin Newsom at a fire department in Santa Monica. And now, in fairness, this was the very end of the press conference. This was not the substance of the press conference in totality. But Joe Biden, of course, can't help himself. To end the press conference, he makes it about himself. And he says, well, the good news is I'm a great grandfather today. My granddaughter, Naomi, had a baby in the LA area on Wednesday today. So Joe Biden is congratulating himself and his family.
The good news is I'm a great grandfather as of today. Baby girl, baby boy. So I remember this day for a lot of long reasons.
Congratulations, butthead.
For as slimy a character as Gavin Newsom is, you can see his body language. I can't believe this. you can see it. And obviously he doesn't have there's no scruples with that guy, but damn.
Now, I was shocked that he forgot Bo. He didn't mention that Bo died in an Iraqi fire, so he knows exactly how everyone in Southern California feels. He made no mention of that.
Trust me, I know exactly how you all feel right now.
Yeah.
But here's some good news. I saved some money on my car insurance by switching to Geico. I mean, that's the next thing that would have come out after the great-grandchild.
Now, it's hard to hear what the exact quote is there because the audio is really poor, and Biden, he just mumbles. It's hard to understand what he's saying. So I had to go and look at the full quote so I understand exactly what he's saying. Apparently what he said is they got notifications yesterday that their homes probably burned to the ground. But the good news is I'm a great grandfather as of today. Now, I thought he was talking about homes burning to the ground in general. No, he's talking about maybe Hunter's house might be burned to the ground. But the good news is, I guess it's not. And the other good news is that he's a great grandpa now. So,
it literally a bottle rocket without the stick. There's no, it's just whatever, man. I think everybody's just, when you have a gathering and you know that you're very, very old, somebody is coming over and they're losing it and everybody just understands. Grandpa so-and-so is going to say things and just, okay, Gramps. Okay.
Let me pose this to you, Frank. You're in that hellscape house, right? You got Satan's flamethrower aiming at your face, and you have a choice of one person to put on that fire department hat and come and save you. Is it Karen Bass or is it Joe Biden? Who's your pick?
I guess gonna have to be. Gonna have to be Karen Bass.
Reasoning being,
she's. She's not. He's dying. He's just rotting in place.
He has nothing left to live for, though. Have you seen how many push-ups he can do? Still,
can he? If he can hold a fire hose, maybe. But maybe she can't either.
Well, it's empty anyway. This is Los Angeles.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, so like, what is she? What is she good for? A last-minute conversation where she just stares blankly at you?
She's got the URLs, man.
Dude, the whole thing is a disaster. I think that he would actually have the will. The flesh would be willing. The mind would be willing. The flesh might be weak, but the mind and the heart would be willing. Joe Biden, if you gave him a hose, he might point it at the fire and stand there for as long as his arms can handle it. The other one is I don't know. I was just thinking maybe I'll go with youth, relative youth, but she's awfully unintelligent, so she's essentially, in the same position that Joe Biden is right now from just general decay, and age. So it's such a bad position for anybody to be in.
And then you remember these two people are actually in charge of saving lives. So this is the state that we're in. Now, I want to be respectful of your time, but I do have just a few more items for you if you are interested. One is fire related. Two are just funny things from the return of Congress and the election certification on Monday that I'd like to get your reaction to. But you got Gavin Newsom standing there next to Biden. As you mentioned, he appears embarrassed by what he just heard. Remember, Gavin Newsom, as of 2021, in a clip that is now circulating again, juxtaposed with the current fire situation, Gavin Newsom is saying, man, the election of Joe Biden, what a great thing. This is going to be great for safety and preparedness and fire mitigation specifically in our state. Listen to this.
That's what's different now is we are committed as a team, as a partnership with the legislature and other state agencies, including now the federal government, no longer a sparring partner, but a working partner. Federal government where we're not addressing headwinds, but tailwinds in terms of the support, a memorandum of understanding, doubling our respective commitments to vegetation management and forest management and prescribed burns to support the Biden administration with resources, not just rhetoric, to help this collective cause. It's a different paradigm. It's a different framework.
There were no resources in the fire hydrants. It appears they were full of rhetoric, actually, contrary to what he's saying.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of hot air to go around. I don't know what. I'm surprised the forest fire didn't start right there at the time of that spewing. It's just incredible to me because of course, when I listen to this, I'm always listening to it through the lens of federalism and our Constitution.
Go on.
It's infuriating to me to hear. First of all, everybody loves talking about California and the state, how independent it is and could be on the world stage. It's the 16th largest economy in the world, but they need the federal government to steal from, the other 49 states to help them clear out their brush. You know how inefficiently California is run, how they're fostering their own invasion. It's all there's political incentive there, I guess. They want all the invaders to stay. They want to be able to pay for them. We're talking about loss of tens of billions of dollars just from illegal immigration alone, because they would never think to tell everybody to get the fuck out. And then to stand there and say that we're not going to have an adversarial relationship to Washington, D.C. anymore, and we're finally going to have some help clearing out all the vegetation around here. Like you've been standing in your own way the whole damn time, and apparently you're such big boys and girls over there that you'd be able to go out and compete on the world stage as the 16th largest economy on the planet. Well, what the hell are you waiting? Who are you waiting for? You don't have anything. You don't have anything you need from anybody.
They're joining Canada, actually. I don't know. I'll get to that later in the show, but the Canadian Green Party lady says, hey, California, come join. Canada's going to save California next. Just wait. But, okay, a couple quick items before you're out of here. But of course, Monday was the election certification.
Stunning.
As MSNBC reports, Kamala Harris's stunning dignity was on display as she became the first Indian black woman to certify her own election loss. Now, the reason I bring this up, obviously it went through with there was no January 6th too, okay? But you got Mike Johnson, re-elected Speaker of the House, sitting behind Kamala Harris as she's counting the vote or announcing the vote. The look on his face was so hilarious, and the ongoing looks, that is, someone edited in the Office music, give it a little extra flair, but just watch his face as this is happening. He's smirking at the stunning dignity. That's what it is. He knows where the camera is and everything.
You listen, everything in life, what do they say? Everything in life is location, location, location.
Yeah.
He knows where his seat is. He knows that everything on his face. His entire face is a prop at this. What are you going to do? Stone face? I saw so many people commenting about they're just so unbecoming of a Speaker of the House to stand behind her and smirk the whole time. Completely, I get it, and completely forgetting or not forgetting. They don't care, and they have the memory of goldfish, perhaps. But Nancy Pelosi sitting in that very same seat, carrying up the State of the Union speech. I guess that was dignified. I'm not a big fan of Mike Johnson, but if I were in his position, sitting in that seat, knowing that the camera is going to be on you the entire time, I'd be doing other things too. I mean, I don't know. I'd be hamming it up.
I think he did a great job. Now, I share some criticism, in fact, a lot of criticism of Mike Johnson, but I recognize a good performance, and that was a damn fine one. Now, perfect segue there, because you mentioned Nancy Pelosi and dignity. Now, Nancy Pelosi, I thought, looked very dignified in her return to Congress post-fall in Europe and hip replacement. She now has a walker. Remember, this is the lady who forced Joe Biden out of the race because he was too old and senile. Meanwhile, she's 84 and gladly runs for and accepts re-election. But in another great viral clip this week, the AI just gets better and better, man. Here is Nancy Pelosi's return to the House floor on Friday, and it looks like there were some complications with the hip replacement.
Caregiver, we do the rest. Independent, that's the best. Call us for a special caring touch. Visiting angels care so much. Visiting angels, America's choice in home care.
I love this, dude. You're right. The AI is getting incredible. You saw the Hillary Clinton one after she got I
played that on Sunday. She returned. She took on her true form and became Satan. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
The AI. Oh man, see, this is everything we always wanted as kids, because I've been talking about this with my brother for decades. I'm sure everybody else out there is doing this with their best friends and their siblings too. Just certain parts of movies that you wish that you could change, and you could just have something abrupt happen or something strange happen to completely throw the whole movie off. It's possible now. I mean, that is hilarious.
And
that's hilarious.
I'm sure you do the same, because I see you've often got AI thumbnails too, and it's so much fun for making thumbnails. You want a certain image for your stream or your video or whatever, you give it a prompt, you get something hilarious. The biggest bummer about being sick, as I know you were over the Christmas and New Year's break there too, I had planned to do a Sunday stream the week that the H-1B visa was all the rage. It was over Christmas there. I spent so much time going back and forth with Grok on X, trying to make an image of Elon Musk as Aladdin and Vivek as Jasmine riding on a magic carpet ride over Mumbai or whatever. And it finally did it. It took like an hour, and it finally did it. And I wasn't able to use it because I was too sick. I thought, should I put this out there? This is AI genius. And it never came to fruition.
I'll tell you, Grok has been really interesting lately. really interesting for getting just some good clarity and research done quick.
I've never used it I only use it for hilarious images. It's good for information gathering, you say.
I've tried with that. Like just today, I was looking for what the hell? Because I have, quite frankly, seasonal playlists that I put out with our newsletter. And by the way, if you ever want to write something for the newsletter, you let me know. It would be awesome to have you on.
Sure.
But today, I think when I went to Grok and I said, I generated images of the three wise men with headphones on because I wanted to get my Christmas playlist an official image. That didn't work out. I asked Grok to generate an image of Santa Claus with headphones on, smoking a cigar. That didn't work out too much. So little things like that. It's been really interesting, but the research aspect has been fantastic. It really has. Little tiny things that I said, hey, give me something on this. Is this myth correct or whatever? And you get, at the very least, a couple of really solid paragraphs and some sources to go run after.
Wow.
So
it links them and everything, or what?
Oh, dude, it's
better URLs than Karen Bass. All right.
Absolutely. The URLs.
I have to check it out.
I wonder what, like,
Chris. I always do that. Sorry. I should play it again, but my mistake.
Wait, the Karen Bass thing, is that really all that was left with? She just said, go to the URL.
In that particular clip, I've only seen the clip. I haven't seen the full press conference because it was just a little while ago. But in that particular clip, she said, go to URL and good luck.
If you need help and resources, just go to URL. I just wonder, I don't know. We live in such a strange world. It's getting stranger.
Thank you for a little bit of extra time tonight, Frank. I really appreciate it. It's quitefrankly.tv if you'd like to catch Frank's nightly show, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, Frank will be back here on the first, normally the first Wednesday, but we didn't do a New Year's show, so that's why we're a little bit late this month. But I will catch you in February, my friend, if not beforehand.
Yeah, what is it? February 5th is the first week, the first Wednesday, huh?
I'll take your word for it. Ask Grok. I don't know.
Wow, man. Yeah. Well, listen, all the best to you, to your family, everybody at home. This is one of my favorite monthly things to do. So
likewise.
I'll talk to you soon, brother. Anything you need, just let me know.
Sounds good. Thank you, man.
Take care.
There we goes. Quitefrankly.tv for all things Frank and Quite Frankly. Now, I got a couple more things to get to before the top of the hour, and then we'll take some calls with Batman. But I got to talk Mark Zuckerberg and his reversal on censorship, his new free speech policies on his Meta platforms, sudden realization of philosophical clarity when convenient for Mark Zuckerberg. So this happened yesterday, Tuesday. Mark Zuckerberg posts a video announcing a series of new policies related to free speech and censorship on his Meta platforms. So that's Facebook, that's Instagram, some other things. And Zuck says that the independent fact checkers that he brought on to moderate his platforms over the last few years, they have actually eroded trust in his platforms rather than strengthened it. And he says that the automated systems that they've deployed to manage content, those have also made way too many mistakes. And so he's scaling those down and he's changing course. Now, specifically, Mark Zuckerberg announced 5 or 6 policy changes or new things that he's going to do. Number 1, no more of these independent fact checkers. Instead, Meta platforms are going to use community notes like X does. He says he's going to simplify and soften content policies. So things like a spicy opinion are not going to be censored, or he's not going to put as much attention on those things as he is, say, criminal issues, matters of legal violation. Okay. He's doing away with auto filters that apparently we're censoring for all these years. He's going to take the automated systems he does have. Again, he's going to focus them on legal issues. He's not going to focus them on opinions. Now, as far as the specific opinions he says he's scaling back on, he mentioned specifically immigration, gender. You can be transgender critical, I guess now. You can have questions about immigration policy. Wow. Amazing. He says he's going to bring political content back as a matter of promotion on the platforms. Apparently, Facebook had previously stopped or reduced promoting political content. So if you make political content, that's just kind of shoved into the corner. They weren't actually feeding that to people. Not going to do that anymore because people are hungry for civic content, he says. He's moving the entire content moderation team from California to Texas in the hope that will do away with or reduce some of the bias of the content moderators. And he says he's going to work with Trump to push back on international or global censorship efforts. So here's Zuck describing all the changes and why he is making them.
I want to talk about something important today, because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes. The fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created. We're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas. We're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. We're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. We're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. We're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more.
Hey, Matt, just to interrupt for a second. I'm not hearing you on stream, and someone else has messaged me that they're not hearing you either.
Oh, crap.
Actually,
how long has that been going on? Yeah, I
stream.
coughed. Thank you. That's hold on. Thank you. Yeah, good use of emergency messaging there, because I coughed and I had my mic muted. Thank you. And now I think I had it muted the whole time after the Zuckerberg video. Is that right?
Hang on.
I think so.
Yeah,
let me
sounds like it.
Thank you for saving me on that.
Yeah, there you go. The Zuckerberg video stopped, and you've just started talking, but there's nothing coming through.
Yeah, I got multiple people texting me. You're muted. Well, thank you guys for tuning into the show. I appreciate that. And thank you for saving me, Tim. Appreciate that. That's why I keep you around. But, okay.
Oh, is that all? That's hurtful.
Well, it's one of the reasons. Now get the hell out of here.
Fair enough.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries.
All right. So let me go, as I was saying, a couple different ways to interpret what Zuck is saying there. Number one, good. Okay. Even if I'm not thrilled with maybe the reasons he's arriving at what he's saying here, or if I have doubt about why he's doing this, it's still a positive direction, right? It's a movement toward the truth insofar as it's a movement toward a more honest battle of ideas, which is how we arrive at it. That's great. That's welcome relative to the direction that we've been going, which is the opposite for many years. I appreciate that. But I think any honest look at this has to be critical of Zuck as well. You sure avoided a leadership opportunity for a long time on this, Zuck. He says, I spoke 5 years ago about this at Georgetown in favor of free speech. That's true. He did. I remember talking about that in a video. I remember appreciating some of the things he said, or a lot of the things he said. It's a long time ago. I can't remember exactly what it was about, but I remember the speech that he gave in general. Talked about it then. But what did he do for 5 years after giving that speech? He did the opposite on his platforms, especially with respect to coronavirus and the vaccine and all those things, restricting information that turned out to be true, or at least more closely connected to the truth than a lot of the information he was otherwise promoting. And that's bad, obviously, on free speech principle reasons, that we want this battle of ideas to arrive at the truth. But it's bad insofar as it led people to believe a lot of things and act on things that weren't necessarily true either. Think of all of the COVID falsehoods that were pushed on that platform, not just because it's some guy out there believed it, but as a matter of enforcement, they were pushed. So where was the free speech leadership for all those years? Where was the Georgetown vision, the Georgetown philosophy for all of those years? What it looks like, of course, is Zuck not adjusting to principle. I've had this sudden philosophical realization. No, you're telling me your principles were the same the whole time. Way back at Georgetown in 2017, you believed in free speech principles. Now you do too. But something changed in the meantime. What changed in the meantime? It was political power. Zuck is adjusting to those in power. He's not adjusting to any sort of realization about moral truth, moral principle. And sometimes you're right when you do that. I think he's moving in the right direction now. Okay. But that doesn't mean that you're a person of moral courage, or that doesn't mean that you have a connection to moral truth or moral principle. And that's not necessarily a man that you can trust. Obviously, I don't think a lot of people do necessarily trust him on these issues. But we'll see. I mean, things can be the right direction for the wrong reasons. And I think that's what we're watching Zuck do right now. But the fact checkers, they just can't help themselves with this one. There are a couple of headlines. They know these are funny. All right. They have to be self-aware. That's why I think some of these headlines are a little bit tongue in cheek. And in fairness to the headlines, they're kind of accurate too. But the New York Times yesterday, headline, Meta says fact checkers were the problem. Fact checkers rule that false. No, okay. Again, funny headline, but the substance of the story is actually pretty important. The organizations that were contracted for fact checking by Meta, these are organizations like PolitiFact or factcheck.org. They're saying, hey, Zuck is saying that we were responsible for censoring people wrongly, and so he's doing away with us now. That's not true at all. They, being Meta, came to us and said, we want you to analyze or evaluate information, tell us what you think is true or false. And then the censorship happened. But the fact checkers are saying, we didn't delete anyone's post. We didn't tell them to delete anyone's post. They came to us with questions about the truth or falsehood of certain information. We offered our opinion. That's all that happened. And even though I don't like these people, I don't generally agree with their assessment of the facts, I do think that their claim here is probably correct. I don't think they were pressing the delete button. I think they were giving information to Mark Zuckerberg, who in turn pressed the delete button based on their based on their information. A similar report in CBS says the same thing. Mark Zuckerberg says ending fact checks will curb censorship. Fact checkers say he's wrong, but same sort of quote. Like, we didn't censor anything, the fact checkers say. We just gave you information and you censored. Now, that's not to excuse the fact checkers, okay? If these fact checkers were committed to free speech principles themselves, they knew what Mark Zuckerberg was doing with that information, and they chose to participate anyway. If they had opposition to the censorship that was being conducted on behalf of their assessment of the facts, they could have withdrawn from their participation in the program at any time. They could have spoken out against the program at any time. They didn't do that. So this is not to excuse the fact checkers. Obviously, I think a lot of their assessments were wrong. I think that they were more enthusiastic about the censorship than they're leading on here. But I do take their point. Like, they didn't have the power to hit the delete button. Mark Zuckerberg did. Okay, if you're mad about the deletion, talk to Zuck. Yeah, I think we should. And I don't think that Mark Zuckerberg, in his explanation of what he's doing now, took enough personal responsibility for that, in my opinion. Like, it's great if you come around to the right idea, but I can't understand why these fact checkers would be upset or disagree with the accusation that Mark Zuckerberg is making against them, insofar as Mark Zuckerberg, under his leadership, these censorship decisions were made. So he needs to take accountability for that. Now, CNN noticed just an appallingly offensive feature of the new rules. Headlined CNN yesterday, calling women household objects is now permitted on Facebook after Meta update guidelines. All right.
The American people are tired of women.
I don't blame them at all, actually. In related news, it appears a household object wrote this very article. The funny thing about the story, I thought, did they when I saw this headline, I thought, did they test out various offensive phrases? Did they see what they could get away with? Why is it calling women household objects is okay now? Thought that's awfully specific. No, it turns out that was a specific part of the policy before. It doesn't say in the new policy, you can call women household objects, you know. It's that it used to be in the policy, in the Meta censorship policy or the acceptable content policy, that you can't call certain objects, you can't call people objects. You can't call women household objects or property or objects in general. You can't call black people farm equipment. You can't call transgender or non-binary people it. So the new policy deleted that, apparently. So now you can call women household objects if you want to. I guess farm equipment is a fair reference. If you'd like to use it, go ahead and test yourself and call all the trannies it you want to, apparently. Anyway, household objects most affected, as always. But any given policy, household objects most affected. Now, I'm coming up to the top of the hour here, but I want to get through the Justin Trudeau news, and then we'll get into some super chats and your calls. In fact, I see Batman is waiting, so let me just let me tell him it's going to be just a couple minutes. Batman, if you can hear me, I'll just let you know through the stream, but just so you know. And same for our callers as well. Stand by. If I hadn't talked for a couple minutes muted, things would have been a lot better. But I'll do what I can here. All right. Unfortunately, the formal humiliation tour for Justin Trudeau up north is now over.
Look at this fan.
So I'm sure there will be some kind of encore ongoing and into the future. But Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, I guess, has had enough of the embarrassment. On Monday, he announced his resignation as leader of the Liberal Party and by extension from his office as Prime Minister. Trudeau made the announcement at a news conference in the Canadian capital of Ottawa.
Over the holidays, I've also had a chance to reflect and have had long talks with my family about our future. I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
So, Trudeau was the leader of the Liberal Party in Canada for 11 years, the Prime Minister for 9. Now, his resignation obviously preempts what was going to be a push out of office anyway. His governing coalition had fallen apart. There was a looming vote of no confidence. And Trudeau fell out of popularity for many of the same reasons that Joe Biden did. Inflation, cost of living, immigration, and all the like. So what happens now? Well, Canada's parliament is now suspended until March 24th while a new Liberal Party leader will be selected. Now, whoever that new leader is, the hope is that they can revive support for the Liberal Party. They can hold that governing coalition together. They can do well in the upcoming election, but a general election must be held on or before October 20th. Again, how all your Canadian complexity works, I'm not an expert on, but it has to happen on or before October 20th, a federal election. My guess is the Liberals are going to be trying to delay that and hold on to power or try to buy time to earn some popularity heading into that election. Anyway, it's going to be within this year. But current polling shows Trudeau's Liberal Party losing ground to the opposition Conservative Party led by Pierre Poilievre, if that's how I pronounce it. I think. I watched a video today of him explaining how you say his name. And it's Pierre Poilievre. I don't have a picture of Pierre in this article, I guess, but Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative leader, who is in pretty good position, it seems, public opinion-wise, electorally. But whoever the prime minister is going to be going forward is going to be determined by the makeup of power in parliament after this election, perhaps whatever coalitions are formed among the parties. Now, on a related note, one Canadian official has made Trump a counteroffer on some of his jokes about Canada becoming the 51st state. At a press conference on Monday, Elizabeth May, the leader of Canada's Green Party, said that California, Washington, and Oregon should join Canada as provinces because, after all, Canada has awesome free healthcare and they ban guns.
Hey, Donald, have we got a deal for you? You think we want to be the 51st state? Nah, but maybe California would like to be the 11th province. How about it? California, Oregon, Washington? You've got geography in common with us. And not only that, we've already got a carbon trading system between California and Quebec. We've got some strong alliances on our west coast from British Columbia. There's been a lot of academic papers on the idea of Cascadia. So California, Governor Newsom, and Washington State, Jay Inslee, and newly elected Governor of Oregon, Tina Kotek. How about it? Want to put a referendum to your citizens? Because this is what you deal. Have we got a deal for you? This is what you get. Free health care. Universal free health care. No more one-year-olds who suddenly fall off the Medicaid list and their parents are in the news because they're trying to do a GoFundMe so they can get their daughter to a doctor. Universal free health care. And guess what? Those gun laws that your Congress is too afraid to pass because of the national gun lobby, we already got our strict gun laws.
So, yeah, we'll see how free your healthcare stays when you got all those Californians and illegals on it. Good luck. Now, California has almost as many people itself as all of Canada. California is 39 million people. All of Canada is 40 million people. Oregon and Washington, that's another 12 million. So this lady thinks that Canada is just going to take in her entire country plus 25% and everything will be magic and free. And California and Oregon and Washington, they, of course, can implement their own single-payer healthcare systems, their own free healthcare anytime they want to. They just can't because it's wildly impractical. But there's nothing stopping them from doing it at the state level other than their own politicians don't have the will for it because it's nonsense. California has tried to implement single-payer healthcare many, many times. Most recently this last spring. Why didn't they do it despite Democratic supermajorities? Because even California Democrats in Sacramento say no. They say, well, we got a budget to balance, guys. And the estimate for what it would cost to do single-payer healthcare annually in California is almost $400 billion. You know it's way more. California is operating on a budget deficit of $45 billion already. But yes, I'm sure Canada is going to pay all that off. I'm sure Canada could swoop in and save California from its own inability to do this free healthcare that she brags about. Now, I will listen to this lady. It's not a terrible deal, actually. It's a bad deal for the U.S. if they just leave and annex into Canada. But why can't we work out a trade? Like California, Oregon, and Washington in exchange for, say, Alberta and Saskatchewan. I know that we're losing a lot of people and potentially a lot of productivity by doing that, but we are also severing a bunch of nonsense from our country. So addition by subtraction, perhaps. The only thing in that scenario I wonder about is access to the Pacific if we did something like this. Maybe we retain the Southern California counties, San Diego, Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino, Imperial. We just get that like quasi-sane part of California to preserve our access to the Pacific. Done deal, Canada. Maybe we can try that out. But all right, I need to catch up with just a few super chats. I don't want to leave you guys hanging, and we'll get to calls momentarily. I know I'm behind schedule tonight, so I appreciate everybody's patience. But over on Rumble, GR says, Happy New Year. There was no stream on New Year's or my birthday this year, but it's great to drop a peso chat on you again. I've made some goals this year. I intend to keep them. Well, happy birthday and happy New Year. Thank you, GR, and good luck with your goals. I appreciate it. Dangerous Spaces says, heaps of people from Frank's audience are identifying themselves in the YouTube chat. That's great. Welcome. Consider a like and a subscribe for sharing the stream, and sharing the stream would be awesome. Hope you enjoy it. Well, I'm glad. Anytime Frank's people are coming over, that is much appreciated. Ninja Kitty says, the kitty welcomes Mr. Quite and the Franklies to the chat. Thanks for joining and sharing Frank on the dark tube. We do welcome them. We appreciate them hanging out with us. Dangerous Spaces says, very disappointed that you didn't show the part of Karen Bass's press conference where she said, stop, repeat the line, and the other part where she said, pause. Smartest mayor in America. Now, I know you're joking, but that's actually believable. She certainly could have said that. And GR says, hate to report that my simping has gotten worse. It's also not lost on my goals to stop. Don't think to add it. Just launch my business, exercise and build muscle, and improve my love life. Hey, man, if you're not happy with where you are as a man, obviously work on yourself. That includes physical work, and you are going to be just fine. All the chips will fall right where they're supposed to. So good luck with that. I'm glad to hear you're focusing on self-improvement. Also says, wasn't President Trump suggesting that we take Canada by force if we want to? What force are they going to use to take our Pacific? I think President Trump was intimidating them, punking them. She was saying that they should just vote, that California, Oregon, and Washington should just vote to join Canada. But over on YouTube here, or Tippy Stream, Long Dong John says, Zuck Fuckerberg. Good one. He's full of shit. If Kamala won, he'd be keeping on with all the politically motivated censorship and fact-checking that up until yesterday he insisted wasn't happening and testified as such in front of Congress. Yeah, I have to believe that he's responding to power rather than responding to principle. And that's the point that should give everyone at least some skepticism of him. But I hope he figures it out. Ooga Boogaloo, Los Angeles, so hot right now. Can't resist. Canadian guy, may I suggest Canadian YouTuber Derek from Unacceptable Fringe as a guest sometime? I'm not familiar with him, but of course, yeah, you're welcome to suggest. And if you have material of his that you think I should take a look at, I'm happy to do that. Send me an email. He also says Justin Trudeau thinks that taxes will stop the forest fires. Not enough of them. Apparently need more. Thank you, Canadian guy. Daniel Yeager says Karen Bass is the L.A. Lori Lightfoot. Rick Caruso is was the former mayoral candidate for L.A. as well. That's right. Tortuga says very professional, Matt. Very professional. Shaking my head.
You suck. Fuck you.
Well, I've had worse moments. I think I was probably only going for like a couple minutes muted. Thankfully, everybody intervened, because if I did 20 minutes, that would have been rough. Thank you, Tortuga. Canadian guy also says Pierre Poilievre. I think I got it now. Poilievre all the way. Well, we'll see how he does. Apparently there's going to be an election this year, but let me take a break there. We're going to get into our callers. I got to, I'll be right back. I got to grab Batman, and then we'll get into that. Thank you guys. I'll be right back for you. Hello, sir. Thanks for waiting. Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
You know how it is when you do half the stream with your mic muted. You know, you waste a lot of time. I don't know if it's quite that bad, but thanks for the
People
text,
come
by
for
the
the
way.
duct tape.
Well, I like to think that. You were one of the people who texted me, by the way. Thank you for the warning.
Of course.
Anyway, welcome back. Hope you had a good Christmas. Hope you had a good New Year's, all that.
Yeah. It was first one with the new addition to the family.
That's
so
right.
It's interesting experience.
Well, now you're a father of what, 3 weeks? 2 weeks? How long has it been? I forget. No, it's a little
3,
longer than
yeah.
that, right? Early December? Can't remember.
Yeah, we're coming up on a month.
Okay. So now you're in the swing. But that's great, man. All the best to you and your family. And one thing I was talking tech upgrades with Frank, and I did mention this to you, but I want all of our callers to be aware too. I finally figured it out. Now I can have you, the co-host person, and the callers hear all of our soundboard and all of our clips, so you don't have to miss out on all the hilarious things that are otherwise playing for everybody else.
Ah, there you go.
So we'll test that out. Now that I've advertised it, it assuredly won't work, but we'll see.
You're a faggot.
That one worked, right?
Yep.
All right, there we go. Let's see who we got who's looking to call in. First up is Joshy Boy. Joshy Boy, are you there?
Hey, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Now you tell me, Joshy Boy, can you hear this?
You're a faggot.
Yeah, I can.
Yes, I did it. I'm so technologically accomplished.
Wow, actually, yeah, I actually heard that through the Discord. Okay.
Yeah, it took many, many hours. Not really. It's just it took getting a piece of equipment that I should have had a long time ago is what it actually took.
Well, I'm everybody's favorite fag, of course. Now,
I was unaware, but congratulations. Wait,
Well,
are you actually gay? Are you serious?
no.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. I was going to call you stunning and brave, but now I guess just
You're a faggot.
Well, I guess you could say that I'm theoretically gay. Does that count?
Whatever you want to be, man.
Theoretically, hypothetically, ideally, I don't know.
Ideally? Okay. What's on your mind?
Ideally for someone, maybe.
Yeah.
Ideally for somebody, maybe. Maybe if I ever get lucky. But anyway. There's two things on my mind.
Okay. This has gone so weird, but all right. Two things. Go ahead.
Happy New Year, first of all.
Happy New Year.
Happy
New Year.
2025. Sorry that you got sick. I didn't get sick, so that's good news for me.
Yeah. Actually, stay home. Wherever you are, stay home. I say that unironically this time. As I've mentioned many times, I basically died. At least I feel like I did.
Well, unfortunately, I work at church maintenance at a private school, so I don't get to stay home unless it snows. It's currently sitting at 27 degrees. They keep saying that we have maybe somewhere between 3 to 7 inches of snow, which is a record for us here in Tennessee.
Wow. I guess, I don't think of that as a snowy climate, but I suppose it does occasionally.
Yeah. Everybody, we had a great blizzard in 93, but I was born in 94, so I missed it. Everybody is panicking, of course. For some reason, down here in the South, whenever it snows, we always go for milk and bread and literally nothing else. Forget the meat, forget jelly, forget other foods or commodities and everything. There's always, for some reason, milk and bread.
Well, I guess that makes sense other than if you're facing a power outage. You got to keep that milk cold, obviously. But as far as...
Well, that won't matter because it'll be cold enough.
I guess that's true. Just store it outside or in your house. Yeah. But as far as like questionable emergency items, I don't have much dispute with that. The thing that was weird for me during COVID was the toilet paper. Now, I appreciate a well-wiped butt as much as anybody, but in an emergency, that's like, I'm not saying I don't want it. I do. But my list of priorities, TP is like way down the list of supplies I want and or need.
Nobody
just goes to show you.
Shit.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how unfit people are these days for survival.
They really are. So the two things that I wrote down some notes, but I'm only going to go over two. We've already kind of made fun of Justin Trudeau, so you kind of did that for me. I was going to make fun of him because I was watching the live stream of his resignation while I was at work.
Look at this man.
Yeah, it was the audio wasn't really working well for me. He was sounding too quiet. He looked like he was crying at first, but whatever, it's all right.
Justin Trudeau, he probably was.
Yeah, that seems like the default for him.
It's on brand.
Talk about going out with a whimper. But as far as annexing Canada, I still completely and totally vouch for that. We could make Canada great by making it part of the United States. We're already technically an empire. We already own the Pacific. We quasi-own Puerto Rico. Greenland, we could just take by force because what's the Danish going to do about it? But anyway.
Well, what's your position on all this Greenland stuff? Because I got a friend who's really into it, and I'm not anti, but to me, how like what kind of resources are we going to put into Greenland, and could those resources be better used, say, in parts of our country that are destroyed or rotting? Am I wrong in that, or is Greenland more valuable than I'm giving credit for?
Greenland is part of North America. I just want all of North America to belong under our control. So it's not necessarily because it has any viable resources. I don't know that. I just want the land to be because I just want it. If I was in charge.
I seem to recall that Greenland does have some resources that could be tapped into that the 40,000 people who live there aren't going to make use of. And on top of that, it's actually a very, very potent military resource. We already have bases there. We already spend resources protecting it because it's a national security issue. So as far as I'm concerned, and actually, you know what? There was a video released by Trump Jr. that where, you know, they were wandering around there talking to people, sea of MAGA hats, which was great. And, you know, they're not big fans of the Danish, right? They're just sort of existing under a Danish banner. They don't like them. They don't hate them at this point. It's just sort of there. But I think a lot of them are actually excited about the potential of becoming part of the American empire. I wouldn't say, I couldn't give you a number as to how many of them. You know, I haven't looked at polling.
Is there polling?
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, does it matter? I mean, you can fit them all inside of a soccer stadium.
Apparently, yeah.
I'm here in my hometown.
So, insofar as its benefits, militarily speaking, it would give us a huge edge in the region if we just outright, you know, took the land. In particular, because I believe that presents an extra difficulty for Russia if they started trying to move ships through that region, which they would have to do to.
Okay. So beyond the resources, it's like defending the entire Atlantic or protecting ourselves from any aggression in the Atlantic.
Kind of like a buffer state.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I guess we haven't, it's not like we have tried a lot of investment in a lot of places in this country that doesn't seem to work out particularly well. Maybe we cut our losses. We just say, you know what? We're rebuilding in Greenland. I always confuse it with Iceland. And nobody talks about Iceland too. Why not Iceland? Why don't we go there?
Well, I believe that's a lot closer to Europe.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot closer to Europe.
Who is Iceland a completely independent country, or are they under someone else's thumb?
They are an independent country.
Yeah. But real quickly before I get booted off, I did want to touch just a little briefly on the whole H-1B visas thing. I know you were going to talk about it last time, but well, what were your thoughts before I give mine?
Oh, in general, like I had thought that I was going to do a segment on this on that Sunday show that I missed, and I haven't looked at it a ton. You know, I've looked at it insofar as it came up with the Elon Musk stuff and the Vivek stuff, and I get the idea in design or in principle, that is to say, if there are a whole bunch of technical jobs that we can't fill that we want done in this country, maybe you look elsewhere to get them. But it does look like there's a lot of, if not abuse, stretching of that system, whereby instead of actually supplementing the American economy where a workforce may be lacking, instead we're undercutting or replacing the American worker in completely unnecessary ways. That is to say, there are certainly Americans who could fulfill those jobs, and instead they're being given to foreign workers who are doing it for less money or, for whatever other reason. But that was my kind of quick reading into it. I don't have all the information, but I welcome your thoughts on it if you have them.
From what I understand and from what I found out, it's basically between Musk and MAGA country. There are a lot of people who are saying that we do have qualified Americans here for the tech jobs, that they're getting skipped over due to the culture war. Most notably, a lot of... Ooh, my internet just died. Anyway, most notably, a lot of white Americans who excel in that field are getting skipped over because, there's been this whole anti-white male movement that's been happening over the last recent years.
Have you tried turning it off and turning it on again?
See, now, you're an H-1B hire right there. You ever need a new job? That's perfect. I know you work on your voice stuff. Yeah, you nailed it. That's high testosterone poo right there.
No, but to kind of, because Batman just kind of reminded me of a story. So in my hometown, we have like a little local LKQ. It's kind of like a junkyard where you can search for car parts and stuff, or you can junk your car. So they used to have a local number where you can just call the store and I expected the voice of a redneck, right? But instead, in Blonde Tours, I get the voice of a Pajit halfway across the world, and I can barely understand the word that she's saying. And it's like, it says, "What is the model of your car?" And it's
Wait,
like,
is it Pajit or Pajit S? What's a female Pajit? I want clarification.
We'll call it a Pajit S.
Okay, thank you.
Just to be all inclusive and everything.
Yeah.
The point is, I wasn't expecting an Indian to be answering the phone, so I was a little mad at that. I could just barely make out what she was saying, and they couldn't connect me to the local store because I don't know, they just couldn't do that. So I guess I stand more so on the stance of the MAGA side in this argument. We have people here who are qualified for the job. I don't want to call a store here in my hometown only for some Indian at a computer desk in their country to answer and then try to set up an appointment or redirect me. And the argument that they're having is that this is good for India. I mean, India is not mad that a lot of people are going over there and getting rich. And by the way, if you ever went to a bank and you see an Indian guy, he's pulling out a lot of cash. Every time he's making a deposit or whatever, he's driving his nice car. He owns a business that makes him a lot of money. And yeah, my black ass over here is working hard and I can barely make ends meet sometimes. You
ever see a poor Indian? I don't think so. They all are a bunch of monocle-wearing Monopoly men. Every time I see them.
Over here, I don't mean to sound hateful, but I'm going to sound hateful. They're over here with their nice suits, driving around in their scooters and everything, and just laughing and hee-hee and ha-ha, and I just want to throw a rock at them or something.
No, I take your point. Like, obviously, the claim that there are tens of thousands of highly skilled technical jobs in this country that Americans can't fill, I'm very skeptical of. Now, I do grant the point that we are doing too much nonsense degrees at our colleges and universities. Too many gender studies degrees, too many humanities, this and that, too many degrees that I got. How many political science people do we need? Not a lot. So I do think that that's true, that we need to try to get more of our young people interested in STEM degrees to be productive in this way, for sure. But does that mean that like it's nothing but highly educated Indians who can do this job and there's no way Americans could? That I'm skeptical of.
Yeah. There is one other side. I don't know if you're ever familiar with the YouTuber called It's a Gundam. I occasionally watch his videos, and what he's been doing recently is showing off women, American women here in tech jobs, right? So on the one hand, you got a lot of qualified American workers who can fill the tech jobs. And on the other hand, you got a lot of these ladies in the tech field who basically spend the whole day filming themselves. Like, look how great my job is. We got these nice gourmet breakfasts and everything. And we do this and we do that. And they don't actually show themselves doing work.
See, this is why Elon was able to take an axe to 80% of Twitter and nothing happened. In fact, things got better. Because these people were theoretically in the tech field with giant neon air quotes, but weren't really. I mean, they were really only in the tech field on paper.
I didn't think about it in that way. Did he undo his own argument? How many Indians did he fire when he went scorched earth on Twitter HQ?
I haven't looked at the breakdown.
We need to find that information immediately.
I would imagine not a whole lot, since a whole lot of them were a bunch of white ladies.
That's true. Maybe the premise is false. Maybe
Or maybe they turned it off and never turned it on again.
Before I let you go, Joshy boy, in the Discord, producer Tim, it's not Pajites. It's what? It's a Pashit. It's a Pashit. Pashit. Well, I guess it doubles in that way, but it's a she a Pashit. Pashit.
I will try to remember that.
All right. Thank you, man.
For all the utility that's going to have in the future.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
I like gendered slurs. This is a new arena that hasn't really been considered. You know, the Hispanics
I wish I
probably
could say
do it.
mine on here, but you'll get in trouble.
Try me. What do you got?
Well, I can't say it on the show. You'll get canceled.
Don't you have an N-word pass?
Yeah, but I'm thoughtful of your channel.
Okay. Well, it must be really bad. All right, I'll take your word for it. I appreciate your discretion.
All righty. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Okay, next up is the name I've asked to pronounce 50 times and still can't. What is this name again?
Yeah. Yuzhan Vong. Just call me Vong.
I'll remember.
Do you not want me to ruin it for you?
Wait, what? Ruin what?
The name, Yuzhan Vong.
Ruin it by mispronouncing it or what?
I don't know. I thought that's what you were on.
Correctly.
Oh. No, he's got it right. Yeah.
Correctly.
Yeah. Batman nailed it. I just can't say it, but I'm going with Vong.
Yeah, come on,
All right.
Matt. What's wrong with you?
Lots of things. But what do you got?
I mean, we already knew that, but joking.
What do you got for us tonight?
I wanted to talk about Justin Trudeau. Sorry, I meant Justin Castro. And his resignation? Question mark?
Oh, so you don't think that he's even? Why do you say that? What do you doubt?
It's not that I doubt his resignation. It's that I thought his resignation was never so much in doubt.
Okay, explain. I'm not sure I follow.
So this is going to be probably a bit of a weird take. But first, two quick things first. One, I have just been repeatedly murdered, Matt, by you. Like every single week that I listen to this afterwards, you're asking someone else if they're me.
Yeah, I know. That's why I don't even bother anymore. I confuse everybody, and I embarrass myself. So I'm done with that. But yeah, I know I've done that
too. Honestly.
Well, there's two people who come in. There's two people who come in with vaguely Chinese sounding names.
Yeah.
Right. But only one of them is Chinese. The other's a Star Wars reference.
They all look the same. See? Their names all sound the same. Okay. There's nothing I can do.
You don't know what you talk about. Okay.
Batman's Taiwanese, so I can tell him apart. But the rest of the Chinese people, no.
Yeah, see, Batman gets it. It's a Star Wars reference, honestly.
Wait, which one? Yours is a Star Wars reference? Who is that in the Star Wars universe? I'm fairly Star Wars literate. I don't know who the hell that is.
This is the old extended universe. The Yuzhan Vong were an extragalactic species that invaded the Star Wars galaxy universe. It's around 40-ish ABY. They use only biotechnology for everything, and they consider any form of mechanical.
I like Star Wars, but that's too much Star Wars.
Evil.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
It was in the books.
Honestly.
Is that a books only thing? Yeah, I've not encountered that. And I've played a lot of the games, I've seen all the movies.
Freaking hobby tourists, man. The worst.
Sorry. Okay, where were we? Let's go. Justin Trudeau. Let's get back on topic here. Yeah, Justin Trudeau.
So that was the first thing. Second thing is I'm going to take another long sip from my infamous Chat Tart Tears mug here. Right. So, you see, what we find when we look throughout so much of history is that everything based on lies eventually comes crashing down. There's a reason for the old saying, there are three things that always come out: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Sure, maybe it takes a while. I mean, we could only really prove that, Lyndon B. Johnson stole his Senate seat in his first senatorial election, like within the past 20 years or so, right? But
I didn't
came out
know that.
eventually.
That's breaking news to me, actually. Lyndon Johnson stole his Senate seat?
Yeah.
Okay.
From what I understand, his first election to the Senate, I think it was to the Senate, whichever it was, his first election as a member of Congress, be it Senator, House of Representatives. Yeah, he stole that election, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
And
So
from that launched his entire career.
I'll take your word for it. But what's the connection to Justin Trudeau? Justin Trudeau's falsehoods are collapsing. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, think about Justin Trudeau, not just in the policies he has promoted and affirmed. For example, the promotion and pushing of things like, pushing false and frankly evil sex ed on children, and the promotion of so-called transgenderism and stuff like
And
that.
the MAID program.
Crap. The MAID program, absolutely. All this crap, but then you even consider things like, his last name.
That's the lie.
All
okay. This is where you're going. All right.
Well, all of this stuff, you look at it and it's just like, okay, this is an administration, first of all, built on an inherent lie that this dude is the son of a former Prime Minister of Canada, a much more beloved.
So you're not, I know that people buy into this seriously, but you're 100% on board with this sincerely. You're not tongue in cheek. It's not a bit. You genuinely believe that Justin Trudeau is not who he says he is. Is that fair?
I think it's every bit as likely as the story we're being told.
Okay.
I'll say that.
Yeah,
I could not choose which one I would bet for if I had to bet, because I think they're equally likely.
I whether he is or is not, I think your point that if you build things on top of a foundation of lies, it will crumble eventually. And perhaps we're watching that right now. I think one of the things that's frustrating for people to watch who would like to be more interventionist with, say, controlling speech or other things, but censorship efforts against what is perceived to be false for the reasons you're describing. That's one of the things that can be frustrating is, okay, sure, Justin Trudeau built a political career on a foundation of lies and it eventually came down. But look, it took like 10 years for that to happen. The collapse that you're talking about occurs very slowly. And that can also be not only very frustrating, but very consequential negatively. So I guess what's your take on that? Like, I'd be curious what your opinion is just generally on the speed at which the truth reveals itself in the way you're describing.
This is quite an interesting one for you to bring up, especially with me, because as I've said before, I'm a traditional Catholic, and there's some very different views that a lot of people, such as myself, have on these things, because freedom and liberty are allegedly placed at the foundation of many a political ideology these days. However, I find that when you ask people who buy into such political ideologies what those words mean, their definitions are nothing short of evil. Freedom being, in the definition I would use, the one I have been taught by the church, is that freedom is the unimpeded ability to do the will of God.
That's a very interesting way to define it, because it actually is restrained in that way. You know, there's a big qualifier on that.
This is something that Michael Knowles talks about a lot. And I like the way that he describes it. It's basically people think his argument is that people think that freedom is licensed to do whatever you want, rather than freedom truly being licensed to do what you ought.
Yeah. And so, those are very distinct things, obviously. And I mean, I suppose you could, I don't think it's wrong to say that freedom is the ability to do whatever that's a plausible definition. But the question is, which of those states do you actually want? And the freedom that is lost in the woods without a map, that is not the kind of freedom that you actually want. And the kind of freedom that you're talking about, both of you guys, is a freedom to pursue a structured, morally correct life without some sort of false human authority intervening. And though that is a key distinction. So go ahead. Sorry if I've...
It's a bit... No, you're fine. It's a bit more than that, because inherent in the concept that freedom is the unimpeded ability to do the will of God, inherent in that is the... How do I put this? The equal and opposite reaction, one might say, to this action. The action that is that definition, so to speak. The equal and opposite reaction being that to use that, to take that freedom and to use it to act against the will of God is an abuse of that very freedom.
Yeah.
And is therefore
makes sense.
evil.
Yeah.
And see, this is one of the things that is deeply important in terms of structuring societies and restraining the destructive nature and nature of some impulses that indeed probably all humans have, is that morality must be not just enforced, but it must be ingrained in people themselves and in our social structures. And so the church actually holds as you'll find this in the Syllabus of Errors from, I believe, 1898, that what is called religious indifferentism is condemned as being contrary to the doctrine of the church. Now, religious indifferentism is not exactly what it seems, but what that means is it is wrong and is considered against the church and the intent and will of God for the government to proclaim no stance whatsoever on religion. That is, for them to say, we are staying out of this entirely, because the government has a duty to recognize what is true and to promote it. Now, that does not mean that they promote it by force. But, for example, a government can say, look, this is what... a government could say, this is a Catholic country. Our laws are founded upon the notions of morality promulgated by the Catholic Church. That does not mean you are not free to practice another religion here. However, this is our country.
Yeah,
this is what our country is founded upon, and this is what we believe.
I could go another
gonna be here.
20 minutes on this topic, because you really brought up something. The concept of separation in church and state that people invoke today, I think, is very different than what was present at the founding of the country and what actually was intended. And I think that stuff's really interesting. Now, these days, it's like if you see a cross in a public place, your constitutional rights have been violated somehow. Or like if a guy prays on a football field on his own time, your constitutional rights have been violated. But anyway, I appreciate all your thoughts this evening, and I got a bunch more callers, so I'll have to let you go there. But thank you for calling in, man.
Yeah, thanks for letting me call in. Appreciate
of course.
Y'all
have a
take
good
care,
night,
guys.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Okay, Rusty Culture is up next. Rusty, are you there?
Absolutely.
What's on your mind, sir?
Good to hear that you survived the bird flu.
Dude, I still have something. Like my family's we're still hacking, we're still getting through it. I don't think it's bird flu. It's not like, but some people do have bird flu. I know that it's mostly a bird thing, but someone died of bird flu the other day. Now, I think I just got like whatever the nasty flu going around is, because I hear a lot of people getting something very similar. So
yeah, there's something going around where I'm at. I've had kind of something off and on for a couple weeks now. So it's just, there was a big media thing where they were trying to get bird flu in the news so that we can have another pandemic to really get people.
I think it's kind of legit though. Actually, I might talk a little bit of bird flu on Sunday with a guest.
Okay. Oh my God.
It's not going to be.
It's an actual birdemic.
Yeah, we're not going to do like some scare thing. But apparently the consequences for, say, like eggs and other food items is somewhat significant. So I don't know. I don't know much about bird flu other than I don't think I have it.
No, I was just making a joke. Sorry.
All right.
I was just curious
if not bird
ahead.
flu, what do you got for us?
Well, I was curious if you had your candlelight vigil Monday, when things were going on, because I know you visited that one a couple years ago in Montana.
I totally forgot because, yeah, you're right. So you're talking about the January 6th vigil that I went to in 2023 and said some things. They said you're allowed to, this is an open event for people of all you can go watch the video on my channel. I said some things that this blue-pilled crowd did not agree with. And it ended up getting kind of interesting.
Guys.
And then last year I looked it up to see if they were doing the event again. They did not. And then this year, so I think my friends and I, we didn't go there trying to be menaces or trying to be hostile, but we ruined the event insofar as they called the police on us just for being there. And apparently we ruined the event so severely that they no longer made this a public event because it didn't happen last year. And then if it happened this year, I just forgot because I've been sick and I got so much going on. I totally forgot about looking to see if the January 6th vigil was back, but I don't think it was.
Well, we did also have the confirmation or the certification on January 6th, so that might have taken the wind from the sails a little bit.
I assume all of those people were having a party to celebrate the peaceful transfer of power, since that's what they're all about, is the peaceful transfer of power. I assume it was a great day for that nursing home convention that was.
Where they are now, they can't have candles because if you have fire next to explosive residue, it's just not really a...
Actually, they didn't. I think I had it in this desk, but when I moved this stuff around, I think I threw it away. They didn't even have candles. They had plastic candle lookalikes that were actually electronic. They weren't even flames. Yeah, they were battery operated. I kept mine as a souvenir, but I looked at it a year later when I was moving stuff around. I thought, am I really going to hang on to the January 6th vigil candle? No, I think I threw it away. Anyway,
I was surprised there wasn't anything that happened. They were talking about how they were gonna peacefully get there and show their disdain.
Dude, I thought maybe someone was gonna January 6th too, but they didn't. You're right.
And they were also talking about certifying different electors. It's like
yeah.
I thought that was insurrection talk. The last I heard is
I still can't get over how quiet it is out there, man. I just something's going to drop. There is no way these people are just going to let Donald Trump walk into the Oval Office unobstructed, but it appears as though that's what's happening.
No, this is the calm before the storm.
All right.
That's what it feels like. It's like they're waiting. They're waiting to pull out their master plan.
Yeah, they've already tried to kill him twice. I mean, really? I guess he won because we had to certify. Yeah, I'll buy that for $1.
He's gonna need a minesweeper when he walks in there, man. It's that whole thing. It's you know what? It's not just gonna be explosives. There's gonna be mouse traps on the floor. There's gonna be rogue Legos, so he steps on it. There's gonna be torture
devices.
Exactly. The whole place is gonna be full of traps. Some of them lethal, some of them just funny. Although, not that I wish, hey, God bless our president. I hope he lives a long, healthy life. A video of Donald Trump stepping on a Lego, that I would like to watch. I want to see it happen. I want to see his reaction to such pain.
It's the worst Lego there's ever been.
I would like to see him show up on January 20th, like President Camacho in a giant.
Yeah. The idiocracy guy. Yeah, if he just walked in, machine gun, he's got like an M249 in each arm, and announced that we're going to make machine guns. Forget Greenland, man. Stay home and make machine guns legal for everybody. Tell you what, make machine guns legal. I will do my term defending Greenland, okay? I'll take my machine gun. I'll man my post over in Greenland as long as I can take that machine gun home when I'm done. That's a deal with Donald Trump.
This is exactly why we need Brandon Herrera as head of the ATF.
Is there any actual traction on that still, or is it still kind of a meme?
It's still kind of a meme, but if it did in fact happen, because we are living in real life clown world, I would be overjoyed, beyond words.
Well,
I also like how that came up is that RFK just put out to the internet who should fill these, and everybody replied that Brandon Herrera was the one getting the most votes.
Oh, is that how?
Yeah,
that
he organically made his way to the top of the poll that RFK Jr. just threw out into the wild. It was great.
Well, Rusty, any last words before I let you go?
Have a great New Year.
Whatever holiday it is.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate your call.
Yep.
Have a good one.
Okay. Batman, I want to be respectful of your time. I know I was late in letting you in. We got 3 or 4 people who'd still like to call in. I might just round them out, but if you need to get out of here or do what you got to do, you just say the word. But you're welcome to hang out if you'd like to.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Okay. Next up is the Chinese name I can't say. So we've really
the other one.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm here too.
This is the James one, right? What did we go with?
Justin.
It's a J name, okay? I'm very close. I'm going to get it right one of these times. All right. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to talk about the situation out in California.
Yeah.
I have a sister and her husband who live out in the LA area. We were talking to them earlier today. They're only about a dozen miles away from where everything's burning. And yeah,
I was actually really hoping that somebody would bring up this topic, because actually right now I live in New York State, but for the majority of my life, I actually lived mere miles away from the place that is now ash.
Do you still have connections there? Family, anything like that?
No family. There's no family in that area. But I know some people who are still sort of in the general region. A lot of my contact with California has sort of dwindled as people have moved and people have turned into leftist psychos. But
you moved on to New York sanity, is what you're saying.
Oh God, tell me about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. So what did you want to say about the fire situation, Justin?
I do not understand how this is such a massive problem every year, particularly in California. I mean, for one thing, you have people who know what they're talking about, who have been screaming from the rooftops for years that the forests are being mismanaged and it is leading to these massive fires. Like, there is a way to prevent these from happening. It doesn't take a whole heck of a lot of effort, and you're still refusing to do it and putting people's lives at risk because of it.
So what do you attribute that to? Do you think it is genuine misplaced environmentalism, or do you think there's something nefarious at work?
I honestly have trouble developing a theory of mind for that, because even if you are an environmentalist, if you truly believe that climate change is man-made, how is this an improvement over doing a couple of controlled burns? Yes, that's going to release whatever nonsense into the atmosphere like this would, but nowhere near on this scale. If you believe that climate change is man-made, this is a big thing that's making it worse in your view. So why are you not doing anything to stop it?
Well, my theory is California is one giant experiment to see how people would react to living in an actual hell. So every once in a while, they collect data when shit starts burning, like the Seventh Circle.
California is just one big psyop in that way. They just test what they can get away with using California as a petri dish.
Yes, precisely.
I mean, that's a plausible theory. There's a lot of nonsense that goes on there. Well, Any final thoughts on the issue before I let you go, Justin?
I just like, I know that there was a press conference with Trump a little while ago where he was talking about like cutting off federal aid to California over all this. Like, you people are willfully mismanaging it, mismanaging this situation. Why should the rest of the country be paying for that? And people are going after him, but honestly, like, I find it hard to disagree with his main point. Like, seriously, we should not be giving money over to this situation when even the fire hydrants are going dry because you don't have enough water to keep people safe.
And just remember, the people who lived in that area voted for this.
And they will continue until they are one with the ashes. Unfortunately, many of them are, or at least their property is, and some of them literally are at this point.
I mean, a lot of people did vote for it, but a lot of people didn't too.
That's true.
That's true.
California does have the largest population of conservative voters as well. And, I know LA County, those people are going to vote Democrat overwhelmingly. But man, if you're a farmer in rural California, I know you're not necessarily in the fire situation right now, but if you're someone trying to maintain like a family agricultural business in Northern California, and you are ruled by Los Angeles and San Francisco and Sacramento, I really feel for those people. That is an impossible political situation. I mean, it's the same in New York too. There's a lot of, if you're like some kind of family agricultural operation in upstate and you have to deal with Kathy Hochul in New York City.
And say, for example, you have like a pet squirrel and a pet raccoon.
Yeah, right. How quickly we forgot about Peanut. God rest his soul.
Who's we, sucker?
Yeah, I don't. Anyway, thank you, Justin. Appreciate it.
Have a good night, everybody.
Take care now.
Okay, we got a few more here. Egrin is up next. Egrin, you're good to go if you're ready.
Hey, how's it going?
Howdy.
What's on your mind?
So on the whole Zuckerberg thing, I would say it's complete diversion, because it's like with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. Bill Gates gave money to Steve Jobs, so that way there couldn't be any more third option position to basically have a new company that could build computers. Because right now there's already enough like low-level social media platforms, but they are not like X, they're not like Facebook. They don't have the manpower to run them all. But if one were to rise above, Facebook and X would have more competition to not have to deal with. They would have to deal with companies that they could not handle.
Wait, I'm not sure I follow the theory here. Explain it to me like I'm 5. What is Zuck's aim in doing this?
To avoid another third-party social media company to rise above.
Oh, so he's just kind of following. You're saying he's following what, say, the market wants, which is not censorship now. So he's or what?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he wants to avoid another third-party company to rise above. And right now, Facebook and X are the social media platforms that people, even normies, talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And if, say, both of them are censorship, like given the fact that Elon went all ballistic over Christmas Day instead of enjoying Christmas, Zuckerberg is just making sure that there's no third party. If that's
Well, you think
how
Zuck did this as a specific response to like the H-1B thing?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Because it allows them to just compete with each other and not with anyone else.
He's definitely following the Elon Musk community notes thing. He said so explicitly. We're doing what X did with community notes. We're just bringing that over here because it's a better system.
Yeah, this is the modern iteration of the whole Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile thing from like a decade ago.
Yeah,
maybe.
And with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, it's exactly the same situation. they don't want any third party that they can't control. And if there was to one to arise, it would be a problem for them. I mean, the fact that Elon is all of a sudden, I gotta talk about the Britain about how horrible things are going with no-go zones. He could have tweeted that like a decade ago. For that matter, even like let's say 5 years ago, he could have done that. He's trying to cover his ass over his huge mistake over Christmas.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think this is a defensive gesture.
Yeah,
This is him trying not to catch a ton of heat. Yeah.
And this whole Trudeau resignation, are we actually going to get someone that's really based in Canada? I highly doubt that.
No.
People seem to like Polyev. I don't know much about him. He seems like an improvement over Trudeau, obviously, but I couldn't tell you a long list of his policy positions or anything like that.
Well, an improvement over Trudeau. I mean, come on, that was already putting the bar on the floor of Satan's wine cellar.
Yeah, he's a man of, I guess, quasi-traditional views.
Well, he's just trying to avoid the backlash of every lashes that he's get from being shouted and yelled. He's just trying to walk away from it.
That, and I think Polyev has a how do I put this? He has a history of being sort of malleable. So he flip-flopped like crazy during the whole Ottawa trucker occupation thing. He was all pro for it, and then all of a sudden he was against it, and then he was for it, and then he was against it. And he was just kind of swinging with whichever way that the wind blew, or
Typical
whichever
Frenchman.
way that
whichever way his white flag blows. You know?
That's right. Yeah.
Pretty much. It's just gonna be a never-ending problem, and like the fact that we're still waiting on for that Ohio Intel building to be built for processors. Will we get it? And will a core of them gonna be H1Bs? Like that's kind of like gonna be a big Turing test for this term.
Just wait until the Great Haitian-Indian War that's going to settle everything in Ohio.
They'll serve cat at the food court.
Yeah.
Yeah, along with every other kosher item possible. You know,
this will all resolve itself. It's like, same thing with Chicago, between the urban gangs and the Venezuelan imported gangs. That gang warfare will clean itself up much faster than any other intervention could. Likewise in Ohio, you got problems with supposedly fictional cat barbecues. We'll have some sort of ethnic warfare to resolve this very soon.
Yeah.
Just sit back, grab a drink, and enjoy the show.
Yeah, and this whole election certification, the fact that it's going to take another week just for all the J6 to be pardoned, like the fact that they're just burying everything with extra paperwork, at that point, what are we doing to the American people? Like what?
Yeah, I posted about that earlier today, and I'm very interested to see how all this January 6th stuff gets resolved, because I did find that to be a pretty surprising announcement. We got hundreds more charges coming. Wow. Right before Trump takes office, we're going to drop hundreds more January 6th charges. What are they doing? What is the strategy here? It's going to be interesting to watch.
It feels like they're burying something in there.
Yeah.
Like they're hiding something. There's a detail that nobody has quite managed to snag onto yet. So they're burying it under an avalanche of there's all these more all these additional charges that we've just come up with now somehow years after that.
Yeah, we'll see.
This smells fishy.
Egrin, do you have a final thought before I let you go?
I would say there's gonna have to be a decent bingo card for Trump of what he needs to do. If he's not able to create the bingo card of what we want, it proves beyond a shadow of doubt that we've tried, we failed. None of our systems is working. None of our representatives are even listening to us. And like, yeah, they're not listening to us for the past decade or 60 years. But at this point, we can at least say we're done. We're done playing this game.
Yeah, I guess if not Trump, then nobody. Then we'll figure it out some other way. All right.
Hawaiian shirts for everybody.
I guess so. Yeah, machine guns in Greenland or whatever.
It's yep. Machine guns, Greenlands. It's gonna be a big backlash of people very pissed off.
I'll see you there in whatever that city in Greenland.
What kind of American are you?
Yeah, what kind of American?
I'll see you at the
guys.
Greenland Post. Have a good night.
Take care, man.
Okay, last call is going to go to Golden Leaf. Golden Leaf, are you there? Golden Leaf? I got nothing. Can you hear Golden Leaf?
I can hear you guys.
Oh, there we go. Now I can hear.
Yeah, I just got dragged
I'm
in.
muted by Golden Leaf, so I cannot hear.
Oh.
You're muted by?
Or is it the other way around?
Yeah, it might be the other way around.
Other way around.
Because he can hear you.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, I had muted everybody before because that's the way the system used to work, but I missed a couple of people, I think. Apologies.
Nope. Apology accepted. I didn't even know you had me muted. I must have did something in my past to make you angry.
No. It's I muted everybody in the chat because my audio used to come from a different place. So everybody in the waiting room.
Got it. Well, in my head canon, I caused great dishonor upon you, and that's why you had me muted.
Great dishonor.
All right. What do you got for us?
Well, I at least want to talk about, well, mainly the Trump press conference, and I guess people's worries that Trump is, what's the word? Not territorial. What's the word for like someone who really wants to expand their country's borders? Like a leader of a nation that is wants to keep expanding.
There probably is a word for that. I don't necessarily know. Yeah.
Why? Why am I blanking at this?
We could call
expansionist?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, expansionist to that extent. With his talk about Greenland, Canada, and Panama. Honestly, I see Panama as a very important issue for us.
Yeah.
Canada as a secondary, and Greenland is just one of those. They are kind of semi-independent and don't really like Denmark, so I can kind of see the appeal. But I wanted to get your.
As I mentioned earlier, it's Greenland is much more of a military. It would be a military acquisition more than anything else, I think.
You don't think there's any other ways, even I wouldn't say buyout, but even if the people there of Greenland wanted to join under the US. Oh, I've just been told by screenwriter Tim, imperialist is another word.
Yeah. There you go. Screenwriter, maybe screener. I didn't know he
Screener Tim.
he writes. Anyway, never mind. I want to see his movie. Whatever.
But
you've already seen Crocodile Dundee.
That's right. Yeah, I've seen a few.
Oh God.
Imperialist. That's a good word though. Yeah, he's vocabulary expert, Tim.
Yes, he is. And I want to get your guys's major takeaway from this. With all the situation with Trump joking with Trudeau that he's the governor of the 51st state, to the U.S. wanting to take control back of Panama Canal, to Trump even saying about buying Greenland from Denmark. What do you guys see a likelihood of any of this happening? Is it just him doing a big ass, then he's going to negotiate in the background later in secret with these countries to get some deal? Or do you think it's just him waving around a big stick but not really going to do anything?
I think he's serious about these desires. Is he gonna make a move on them? On the Greenland thing, I don't know how you would even do that without an act of Congress. So there's that to consider. Yeah, well, and same with the Panama stuff too. Now, to his point, I didn't realize the degree to which we have surrender is probably the wrong word, but we effectively built the Panama Canal and then gave up control of it.
We gave it back to the Panamanians.
And then they've handed over control, at least in part, to the Chinese. So we definitely have an interest, defensive, like a defensive interest in terms of maintaining our supply lines outside of Chinese control. But even outside of military defense, such an important pathway for international traffic, just economically, we have a very important interest in the Panama Canal. So I would think that if any of them were the most likely, getting some sort of renewed control over the Panama Canal is probably the most likely of all of them. How that would happen specifically, I don't know how that would interact with Congress and like how that would interact with Panama and the Chinese and all this. That's my guess on it. Like the Canada thing, I think that's a zero. That's not. I think that's a joke, actually.
Yeah,
I think Trump is just talking about like leveraging economic influence over Canada to get them to do what we want them to do on the Canadian border, which makes sense.
My favorite detail about Canada, just in general, was I forget the interview or who was being interviewed. Someone asked, this was like a while ago, asking if the American empire was dying. And he looked at the reporter who was from Canada and said, if we were actually an empire like people said, you would be our 51st state. We would have not let you exist.
I suppose that might be true. But yeah, I would.
Well, I mean,
go ahead. Sorry.
It is absolutely true. I mean, right now we handle the majority of Canada's defense. They rely on us for so much, and then they return the favor by, tariffing the crap out of us, or selling us things at a price that could be negotiated better. Let's put it that way. And we've been letting them get away with this when, in reality, given that defense situation that I mentioned earlier, they exist because we allow it, and they will end the moment we demand it.
I was about to say, in terms of defense, you really hit the nail on the head. If you guys ever have time, look up Operation Chrome Dome. It was a U.S. mission from 61 to 68, where we just had B-52s going all over the U.S. and Canada throughout our airspace in a giant circle continuously.
All right.
Like, it was called Operation Chrome Dome, which...
Yeah, news to me.
Oh, yeah. Military operation. Really interesting. I guess it was our way of showing the Soviets that we have planes always ready.
Yeah.
But I will say, though, the Canada thing, yeah, I think it was more of a joke. He really wants Trudeau to lighten up on the tariffs. I mean, to be fair, we probably have very good, out of all the other nations, I think besides Japan, we probably have a great friendly relationship with Canada.
And Taiwan.
And Taiwan, yes, thank you. And, we literally are neighbors to each other, and I think even at a time, there wasn't a need for you to show your American passport to go to Canada.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, thank you for your call. Appreciate it. If you have a quick last thought, go ahead.
I will say, in terms of the Panama Canal situation, I do see that it is very viable for us as not just trade relations, but also military, because we can easily transfer our Atlantic fleet to the Pacific or Pacific to the Atlantic. And if the U.S. never decided to guard the trade lanes, how fast do you think the other countries would have trouble even guarding their own trade lanes if the U.S. Navy didn't even help?
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I appreciate your thoughts. Thanks for calling in.
Have a lovely day, gentlemen.
You as well.
Take care now.
Okay, Mr. Batman, thank you for hanging out. I'm going to close out with Super Chat. You're welcome to hang out and opine on those if you'd like, or if you'd like to call it a night, feel free to say good night as well.
Sure, I can chill for a little bit.
Well, let's see what we got. Actually, I did leave Odyssey hanging earlier. Sorry about that, but thank you for the super chat over on Odyssey from Alt White. Best for the new year, Matt. Well, best to you as well. Thank you. Appreciate that. Over on D Live, Polecats. Thanks for supporting the show. On Rumble, let's see. Dangerous Spaces says, am I the only one that is creeped out by Trudeau's voice when he does speeches? He legit sounds like he's doing voice work for the snake from some animated Garden of Eden film. Well, you were commenting on that it sounds like he's crying frequently.
Oh, that, and he sounds like an AI. Like he just naturally sounds like there's an air of unbridled artifice around everything he says. It's all an act.
Is it like a cadence thing, or why do you say it's AI?
Like he sounds like he sounds synthetic, right? He every word is sort of measured in almost a similar tone that an AI's generated voice would be. I've always thought he sounded bizarre, but now with with AI getting better, I'm like, oh, he sounds like that.
He was just
like,
technologically
it's
advanced this whole time. Right. Yeah. All right. GR says, did you finally watch the ATF Columbus PD video? I have not, I confess. Don't tell me you missed watching it on Christmas and New Year's. I missed life on Christmas and New Year's. I was dead. But stop what you're doing and watch it now. All right. Tell you what, GR, you send me the video in an email, which I'm sure you probably already did, but you send me the video in an email. I will take a look at it. Also says, there's a new show on Peacock that's called Laid, and it's funny. On the surface, it seems like some woke propaganda bull, but they actually touch on serious aspects of sleeping around and real love. I haven't heard of it, but okay, I'll take your word for it. Do you know that show?
No, not familiar.
GR also says, I like Batman's jersey. It's really nice. My family's in Long Beach, very concerned. We need to stop voting these demon rats. That's right. I forget you unironically say demon rats, GR. I love that because whenever I'm reading some comment section on Facebook or something, you always got some edgy boomer that's like, I can't stand these demon rats. And I always get a kick out of that because they're the same people who call him Obummer. Oh, yeah, I don't like Obummer. Anyway, Obummer and the Demon Rats. I like that you lean into the bit. No wonder everybody wasn't just granted the right to vote women. What's the jersey about? I guess I didn't take notice, but what's the jersey thing?
My wife has greatly enjoyed the fact that everybody on this thing calls me Batman. So she actually got me a
legit Batman jersey.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't see the sleeves. They were off screen, but that's cool. GR also says Greenland has all the natural resources and military potential that we need, not to mention the shipping routes that could become available. Panama should still be a territory. Yeah, we'll see how all of this gets resolved, and if we exert any influence on those areas. All right, YouTube and Tippy, thank you, GR. ZXXAR, I'm going to go with Czar Gaming. Los Angeles and Hollywood finally getting their well-deserved Sodom and Gomorrah. It's been a very long time coming.
Jeez.
Well, I don't know. Not all. But obviously, like, there's a lot of suffering. I'm not, I get it. It's a bit, it's a joke, whatever. But I wonder, to sincerely consider this point, how bad will it have to get in places like Los Angeles before people will reevaluate not just their vote, but their philosophy on life? Now, I'm not saying, obviously, like, you believe this degenerate thing, so it caused your world to start on fire, but through a series of tangential connections, these things are related. Like, you can't tell me the severity of the fire in LA is unrelated to a lot of Democrat Party philosophy about how to manage these things. It doesn't mean that the average Democrat voter deserves to burn in this inferno, but it does mean that I do think there's a plausible connection, if not A to B, A to F, G, whatever. There's several connection points. I guess I'm posing the question to you, Batman. How bad do things have to get if actual hellscape of fire isn't quite bad enough yet?
Well, the amusing thing, of course, about this, of course, is the fact that naturally, this is not the first time this has happened. It's just the first time this has happened in this particular area where there's lots of expensive houses and all that jazz. Recognizable right outside of or right next to LA areas. And of course, to add on top of that, I think it was in 2015 or 16. It was right after I left. California decided to do that whole thing where they wanted to save all of the sea turtles by banning plastic bags and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're
right?
saving them
But
in this town
we're
now
talking,
too.
Right, but
The
what do you
Rocky
think
Mountain
the
sea turtle.
consequences?
Sorry, go ahead.
That's right. Yes. What do you think the consequence of that was?
The consequence of eliminating plastics to save the sea life?
Yes.
Probably damaged way more sea life somehow.
No, not quite. It was way worse. So LA in particular is a city where the weather's always good, pretty much always good when it's not on fire. The weather's always nice, and therefore, who wants to go there? Well, homeless people, right? Because then they don't have to deal with winters and all that stuff. Now, you get giant tent cities under the 405, and what happens? Well, these people need somewhere to eat, somewhere to sleep, and somewhere to relieve themselves. What do they use to relieve themselves? Well, for a while there, it was plastic bags.
Mm-hmm.
So now take away the plastic bags. Now they're crapping in the street, and then you see resurgences of things like typhoid. So we have the hellfire, and we've already had plague. We're moving down the list here.
Okay. I that's not where I thought it was going. The hobos ran out of shitting resources.
Plastic bags to shit in.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, okay. I hadn't thought about the disease spreading because of that, but I guess that does make sense. And I don't know. One way or another, I'm sure that typhoid got to the turtles too. Anyway, we damaged the turtles regardless. That was the point. Anyway, thank you for that history
Typhoid
lesson.
turtle.
Does it matter? Maybe that's how they became mutant ninja turtles, actually, was hobo excrement that got to them in the sewers. Does it matter? Says, so proud of you now, Matt. Your transformation into tinfoil hattery and skepticism of the left. You finally understand what these doldrums mean. Those bastards are up to something no good. Maybe, yeah. I don't feel like it's a particularly cynical take. I'll take the compliment, of course. But as far as believing it's too quiet out there, I mean, what show has anybody else watched for the last 5, 6, 7 years, really until Trump got elected? They're always up to something. It goes from A to B to C. It's a neat little sequence from impeachment to COVID to whatever other tricks are deployed. And now it's just nothing. Now it's just, well, he beat us fair and square. Look at how good at conceding we are.
Yeah, the mask has been off for a while now, right? It's that quote. Was it Dostoevsky who said it? We know, they know, we know, or we know they're lying. They know we know they're lying.
Yeah.
They know that we know that they know they're lying, and yet they lie regardless.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect.
Yeah.
It's been like this for years, the better part of a decade now. No. Is it more than a decade now?
Well, Trump entered the political scene in 2015. He came down the escalator. So we're right about there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is not a new development.
Yeah.
And there've been so many instances where it's been blisteringly, blindingly obvious that they're playing fast and loose with whatever rules that remain at this point. That where the jig's been up and they don't care that we know.
Yeah, it really feels that way. Grandmaster B over on DLive, thank you, appreciate you. And lastly, our friendly call screener Tim says, Dangerous Spaces says, did you see the rep ask why territories like Puerto Rico don't get to cast a vote for House Speaker? Wasn't it Plaskett, the woman who represents what territory does she represent? I can't remember, but she's a psycho. That's Stacey Plaskett lady. Why are so many in government so stupid? As an Aussie, even I know more than many of these idiots. I didn't see exactly what she said, but I've seen some of her outbursts in the past. And Well, they're very. She needs to be in the squad. She needs to replace Jamal Bowman in the squad. It seems like she fills that role really well. I wonder what he's up to now. What fire alarms he's going to be pulling now that he's out of Congress.
I'm going to say he just basically wanders down the street and pulls every fire alarm he can that comes into the range of his grubby little fingers.
When these people leave, you remember him yelling at Thomas Massey, "Look at the data. You're not looking at the data." One of my all-time favorite Jamal Bowman freakouts. Known data scientist Jamal Bowman. The man who ran his stupid school, his literal stupid school in New York, where the kids can't. He actually ran the Jamal Bowman School for kids who can't read good. In fact, they can't read at all. He unironically was Derek Zoolander. Look up the test performances at Jamal Bowman's social justice school in New York before he was in Congress. It's abysmal.
Yeah.
And that guy somehow got elected to tell us all how to run our lives.
Well, he's a data scientist, so he wasn't just pulling a fire alarm. He was seeing scientifically, gathering empirical data to see if that loud ringy sound happens every time you pull the handle.
Where was Jamal Bowman in Los Angeles? How many lives could he have saved by pulling every fire alarm in the area for the last couple days? Deploy him responsibly, okay? GR also, lastly, demon rats, they're always projecting. Demon rats. They accuse us of things they've done, and if they haven't done it, no matter how ridiculous it sounds, they'll do it soon. Fuck old country ass bammer. I don't even know what that last part is, but yeah.
It's a insult to Obama in a deliberate Southern accent.
Oh, fuck old country ass bammer. Is that how it's supposed to be delivered? Okay. He's bammer. All right. Thank you, GR. All right, man. I appreciate the extra time from you this evening, and I once again I apologize for making you wait. But of course,
no
thank you for your flexibility. And I will see you again soon. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I think that covers it.
All right. Well, that will do it for the stream this evening, everybody. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Thank you to the live chatters and the super chatters and people tuning in live for making the live production a success. Thank you for listening on demand later as well if you are. Thanks to Frank for stopping by, quitefrankly.tv. Thanks to Batman for helping out with his calls, or with our calls. And thanks to producer Tim for his help with the show and stopping me from going on forever muted. I will be back on Sunday. I'll see you then. MattChristiansenmedia.com for anything else.
Take care.